At 2:40 every morning, the dead train arrived without sound, not rolled in, not announced, not screamed along the rails with the usual iron shriek and electrical grind. It simply appeared in the tunnel mouth like something the darkness had coughed up and then regretted. The first time Martin Hale saw it, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. The platform clocks were frozen at 2:40 a.m. The ads along the tiled wall flickered white, then black, then white again. The stale underground air changed, thickening with a wet mineral smell like old stone pulled up from the bottom of a lake. Then the tunnel beyond the yellow line, empty one second, held the square shape of a train the next. Its headlights were off, its windows were lit, and every single passenger inside was staring straight at him. Welcome back to the channel. Tonight's story will take you underground, where the last train doesn't always take the living home. Before we go any further, comment below where you're watching from. And if you love true horror, creepy encounters, and stories that leave you checking the darkness behind you, hit like, subscribe, and stay to the end, because this one gets much worse at 2:40 a.m. Martin had worked the night maintenance shift in the London Underground for nearly 4 years, and in all that time he had learned one rule above all others. Strange things happened below the city after midnight, but only fools acknowledged them. Still, on that first night, standing alone on the northbound platform with a wrench in one hand and a radio hissing static at his belt, he made the mistake of looking too long. Because when the silent train stopped at the sealed stretch of wall where no platform should have existed, one of the people inside lifted a pale hand and tapped on the glass, and the face behind that hand was his own. Martin Hale was 36, recently divorced, chronically short on sleep, and the kind of man who had spent so long inside routine that he mistook it for stability. By daylight, he rented a narrow flat in Camden with peeling paint near the windows and plumbing that clanged like pipes in an old prison. He slept in short, shallow blocks, usually from 8 in the morning until early afternoon, then spent an hour staring at the ceiling before forcing himself out of bed. There were dishes in the sink more often than not, a dead fern on the sill, 2 unopened letters from his ex-wife, Naomi, tucked under a chipped ceramic bowl as if hiding the envelopes could also postpone what they contained. At night, he belonged to the underground. He worked as a maintenance technician assigned to a section of the Northern and Bakerloo interchange systems. Electrical inspections, panel checks, relay resets, emergency lighting, signal faults, drainage complaints, all the little things commuters never saw and never wanted to think about. He preferred the solitude, preferred machines to people. Machines had causes, effects, failures you could trace. If a circuit died, there was a reason. If a drain backed up, something blocked it. Even when things went wrong, they went wrong honestly. The stations, though, had personalities. That was the only superstitious thing Martin allowed himself to believe. Some stations felt merely old, some felt tired, others felt watchful. Blackthorn Street Station, his regular assignment for the last 6 months, felt wrong. It sat below a quieter part of northwest London, tucked beneath rows of brick terraces, shuttered shops, and a church with a leaning stone spire. By day, the station was forgettable. Commuters with coffee, tourists with maps, school kids with earbuds, a few office workers already wearing the expression of people bracing for emails. By 1 in the morning, after the last scheduled service and the final sweep by platform staff, it became another world. The tiled passageways amplified every footstep. The old posters in their frames looked like preserved skin. The ventilation system pulsed with warm gusts from unseen shafts, carrying dust, rust, and the faint, sour smell of tunnel water. Somewhere in the walls, ancient pipes clicked and knocked like knuckles. Blackthorn Street had quirks the older workers joked about, but never really discussed. Tools went missing and reappeared in locked cabinets. A signal lamp on the disused West Tunnel sometimes glowed faint green even when disconnected. The security cameras on the old service corridor near the bricked-off north end of Platform 3 tended to freeze for exactly 1 minute, sometime between 2:30 and 2:45 a.m. Nobody filed formal complaints. Nobody wanted a transfer badly enough to sound unstable. Martin first heard the stories in the break room from Kev Baines, a 50-something linesman with nicotine-stained fingers and the facial texture of a man who had been insulted by weather for decades. "Don't hang around the sealed end of 3 after 2:30, Kev had said one night, stirring powdered creamer into tea like he was mixing plaster. "You hear anything down there? Radio it in from the stairs. Don't go looking." Martin, tired and annoyed, had barely looked up from his checklist. Looking for what? Kev had shrugged. "The thing the station forgot to bury." That got a laugh from another worker, a younger electrician named Jamil, but it was the uneasy kind. Too quick, too thin. Kev had not smiled. "There used to be another platform," he said. "Old branch line from decades back. Closed after an incident. Flooding, they said. Fire, some said. People trapped. Pick your version. London's built on layers of lies anyway." "Right," Martin had muttered. "Ghost platform." Kev had pointed his spoon at him. "Mock it if you want. Just don't be standing there at 2:40. Martin had chalked it up to underground folklore, the kind of working man mythology that grew anywhere people spent enough nights in bad light. Still, details stuck. The old bricked section at the far northbound end of Platform 3. The camera freeze. The precise time. It helped that Blackthorn Street offered visual reasons for discomfort. Past a locked gate marked staff only, an unused maintenance spur curved into darkness where the tunnel tiles shifted from cream to soot-stained gray. One wall there had been renovated badly, the kind of patch job that drew more attention than damage. Newer brick interrupted older tile, but not cleanly. The mortar line curved slightly inward, as if the wall had been built over a shape that pushed from behind. Martin noticed odd things over the weeks. Cold spots that lingered no matter the station temperature. A low vibration beneath the concrete that came and went with no train due. Once, while replacing a ballast light, he found a child's marble in the cable trench. Cloudy glass with a red swirl inside, though public access had been cut off there for years. Another time, he caught a strange smell at the bricked wall. Not sewage, not ozone, not mold. Something like wet coins and old perfume. The station manager, Eleanor Pike, dismissed everything with practiced efficiency. She was brisk, organized, and the sort of woman who wore authority like armor. "Old structures settle," she told Martin when he mentioned the vibration. "Air pressure changes, drainage shifts, rats get into places they shouldn't. If anything dangerous happens, we log it. Otherwise, we work." And Martin worked. He checked circuits, logged repairs, rode little service lifts between levels, ate sandwiches out of vending machine wrappers under humming fluorescent lights. Nights blurred together until he began measuring life by the minute hand on Platform 3's clock. At home, sleep became harder. He dreamed of tiled walls sweating black water, of train doors opening into brick, of crowded carriages where everyone sat motionless except for one passenger turning, very slowly, to reveal his own face. He woke with his heart pounding and the sense that he'd been listening to something in the dark just before consciousness snapped back into place. Then the small physical signs began. A smear of gray dust on his bathroom sink, shaped vaguely like fingerprints. A used travel card in his coat pocket that wasn't his, expired 22 years earlier. A voicemail on his phone that lasted 11 seconds and contained nothing but distant rail noise and what sounded like several voices whispering at once. When he replayed it, one whisper seemed clearer than the rest. Not words, his name. He told himself it was fatigue, stress, the mind grinding itself down under fluorescent nights and broken sleep. But beneath that explanation, something older and more primitive had started to move inside him. Not fear yet, recognition. As if the station had noticed him noticing it. As if something below Blackthorn Street had been patient until it was sure he could see. On the night it truly began, Martin was assigned a solo inspection of emergency lights and communications panels along Platform 3 and the adjoining service corridor. Jamil had called in sick. Kev was covering a signal issue 2 stations down. Eleanor left just after 1:50 a.m. with a clipped reminder to lock the relay cabinet and send photos of the damaged conduit by the north wall. By 2:12, the station was effectively empty. Above ground, London still breathed in its sleepless ways. Sirens in the distance, drunk laughter spilling from side streets, night buses hissing through wet intersections. But down below, the city's skin had sealed over. The escalators were stopped. The ticket barriers glowed red and silent. Only the service lights remained, giving the platforms their flat, exhausted color. Martin moved methodically. Emergency beacon at stairwell, green. Wall phone housing, intact. Comms panel on central pillar, condensation inside casing. He photographed, logged, adjusted, tightened. Routine. At 2:27, his radio spat a burst of static so loud it made him flinch. "Control, this is Hale on 3, he said, pressing the transmit button. "You getting interference?" Only static answered. But beneath it, he thought he heard a faint repeating tone, like an electronic chime from a much older machine. He tried again, nothing. The station lights dimmed for half a second. "Not a full outage, just enough to make every shadow along the platform flex." Martin looked down the rails. The tunnel yawned ahead, black and deep, swallowing the reflection of his flashlight. He checked his watch. 2:31 a.m. He almost laughed at himself then. Almost. Instead, he headed toward the north end, where the bricked section waited beyond a yellow maintenance barrier. He told himself the radio interference might be caused by corroded wiring in the service recess there. Better to check, log it, and be done. The air changed as he approached. The rest of the platform held its usual warmth, but the northern end felt damp and chilly, like a cellar beneath a flooded church. The smell returned too. That metallic wetness, cut with a sweetness he couldn't place at first. Then it hit him. Lilies. Funeral flowers. He stopped several feet from the bricked wall. His flashlight beam crawled over the patched masonry. Something glistened in the mortar seams. Water, he thought. He moved closer. Not water. The substance was darker, thicker, slowly beating out of the wall as if the bricks themselves were sweating. It gathered into heavy droplets and rolled down in narrow trails that shone black in the light. Martin crouched, every instinct urging him not to touch it. He didn't. Instead, he extended a screwdriver and pressed the tip against one droplet. It stretched with tacky resistance, then snapped. The smear left on the metal glimmered dark red. His radio crackled again. This time a voice came through. Not Control, not anyone he knew. A woman speaking too softly to catch all the words. "Hey, mind the gap?" Then silence. Martin stood so quickly he banged his shoulder on the tiled wall. "Who's there?" No answer. The tunnel behind the wall gave a sudden deep shudder, as if somewhere beyond the bricks, far back in darkness, a train had passed on tracks that no longer existed. Dust spilled from the mortar lines. A tile near floor level loosened and dropped, shattering at his feet. Behind it was a narrow cavity, not more than a few inches deep. Something pale protruded from the darkness inside. For one absurd second he thought, pipe insulation. Then he saw fingernails. Human fingers, gray-white, swollen-looking, and pressed into the gap from the other side. Martin stumbled backward. The hand did not claw or reach. It merely remained there, rigid, wedged between unseen brick and void. But as he stared, one finger twitched. A dry, tiny movement. His breath snagged in his throat. He yanked out his phone, fumbled with the camera, and snapped a photo. Flash. When his vision cleared, the cavity was empty. No fingers, no hand. Only broken tile and darkness. He swore under his breath. Then tried Control again with shaking fingers. "This is Hale. I need someone at Platform 3 North End right now. Possible trespasser in sealed wall. I repeat." The lights went out. Complete darkness swallowed the platform. Martin froze. Somewhere in the black, water dripped once. Twice. Then, from the tunnel beyond the bricked wall, came the unmistakable sound of an approaching train. The rails beneath his boots began to hum. That was impossible. Service had stopped. Power to the line should have been isolated in sections for overnight maintenance. Yet the vibration built steadily, accompanied by a low, rushing wind moving toward him from the dead end behind the wall. Then a line of light appeared. At first it was thin as a razor cut, shining through the mortar seams. Then other lines joined it, vertical, horizontal, geometric, until the entire patched section glowed like a diagram hidden inside the brick. Dust streamed off the surface. A deep metallic groan rolled through the platform. Martin backed away one step at a time, unable to look elsewhere. The wall split down the middle, not by crumbling, by opening. Bricks folded inward soundlessly, as if drawn back into darkness by some unseen mechanism. Behind them lay not rubble, not a maintenance shaft, but a platform. Another one. The tiles were older. Cream turned the color of old teeth. Vintage signs hung crooked on the walls. A roundel half obscured by soot read Platform 9 in cracked enamel lettering. Rusted benches sat beneath blackened lamps. The entire place looked drowned in age and stale damp, preserved outside time. And on the far side, on tracks that should not have existed, a train was pulling in. It moved with gliding silence, wheels making no contact noise at all. Its exterior paint was archaic, deep red and cream, grime-coated, with carriages shaped in the older style Martin had seen only in transport museums. Light glowed from every window with a yellow softness unlike modern fluorescence. It stopped precisely level with the phantom platform. The doors slid open. Passengers sat inside. Dozens of them. A man in a bowler hat with half his face blackened as if by soot. A nurse in an outdated uniform, chin resting on her chest. A teenage boy in school blazer and tie, both soaked dark. A mother holding a bundled infant whose blanket dripped steadily onto the carriage floor. Some looked injured, others simply wrong, too still, too pale, with eyes that reflected the carriage light like animal eyes in a torch beam. None of them moved at first. Then, as one, they turned their heads toward Martin, every face fixed on him. His body locked up with that ancient prey instinct that believes movement itself may invite death. He could hear his own pulse, huge and irregular. The smell of lilies flooded the air. One passenger rose, a tall figure from the second carriage, wearing an underground worker's coat several decades out of date. The cap sat low over the face. The figure stepped to the open doorway and raised one gloved hand, beckoning. Martin found his voice in a torn whisper. No. The station clocks all clicked at once. 2:40 a.m. The worker lifted his head. Beneath the cap was Martin's face. Not a resemblance, not a dreamlike approximation. His face exactly, but older somehow. Drained and stretched, with tunnel grime ground into the pores and one eye a milky white. Its lips peeled back in a familiar, exhausted expression that did not belong on something dead. It tapped two fingers against the glass beside the door. Come on, Martin ran. He sprinted full speed down platform 3, boots slamming concrete, flashlight bouncing wild arcs of light across tiled columns. He didn't look back. He heard no footsteps following, only the terrible absence of sound behind him, as if the train and its open doors were gliding after him without touching the ground. At the far stairwell, he nearly fell, caught the handrail, and bolted upward 2 steps at a time. His radio blasted static against his hip. Somewhere below, very faintly, a woman's voice announced a station stop in the calm, formal cadence used on recorded services. Blackthorn Street. This train terminates here. Martin burst into the concourse, gasping. The ticket hall lights were on again. The barriers glowed. The CCTV monitor above the supervisor's booth showed all cameras functioning normally. He spun, half expecting to see the stairwell flooding with yellow carriage light. Nothing came. He stood bent over, fighting for breath, while the station settled into ordinary silence around him. 5 full minutes passed before he could force himself back downstairs with another technician from control. A broad-shouldered man named Lewis, who looked annoyed to have been called out for wall movement at nearly 3 in the morning. They inspected the north end together. The bricked section was intact, no gap, no opening, no sign it had ever moved, no black fluid, no hidden platform, just old masonry, dusty tiles, and Martin's dropped screwdriver lying near the wall. Lewis gave him a long look Martin would remember for weeks. "You sure you didn't nod off on shift?" Martin showed him the photo on his phone, hands still trembling. The image displayed the wall, the maintenance barrier, and nothing else. No cavity, no fingers. Then his phone pinged. A new image appeared in his gallery that he had not taken. It showed the inside of an old train carriage, yellow lit and crowded. Every passenger was facing the camera, and at the far end of the carriage, reflected in the dark glass of the connecting door, Martin could see himself standing among them. The next few days should have convinced him he was losing his mind. Instead, they convinced him something was trying very hard to make him look insane. Eleanor Pike sent him home early after reviewing the incident report with a face arranged in professional concern. There were words like exhaustion, acute stress reaction, mandatory occupational evaluation. Martin answered carefully, omitting the details that would turn concern into formal suspension. He did not mention the dead-faced version of himself or the passengers. He spoke only of a perceived structural anomaly, a temporary lighting fault, possible radio crossover. Eleanor listened with her hands folded on the desk. "You need rest," she said. "Take 48 hours, see the company doctor, then we decide whether you're fit to return underground." Martin agreed because arguing would only harden suspicion. But once he got home, rest became impossible. He enlarged the mysterious train photo on his phone again and again until the image blurred into pixels. The carriage was old, unmistakably old. Varnished wood paneling, strap handles, dim globe lights. The passengers were clearer every time he looked, as though his brain kept uncovering detail it had previously refused to process. Burn marks, mud, torn skin, water-staining collars and hems. The bundled infant had no visible face at all, only blanket folds where a face should have been. And in the reflection at the far door, there he stood. His expression was not frightened. It was vacant. The AXIF data should have offered something rational. Timestamp, device ID, file source. Instead, the information field froze whenever he opened it. Once, for a split second before the phone locked up, he saw a date flicker into view. October 14th, 1998, 2:40 a.m. Blackthorn Street had suffered a major incident in October 1998. Martin knew that much. Every underground worker knew the broad version. Electrical fire in a disused branch access tunnel. Several injuries. A handful of fatalities complicated by smoke and evacuation confusion. It was one of those incidents the company remembered formally and discussed vaguely. A tragedy contained within safe wording and policy revisions. On his second day off, Martin went looking for the rest. He started online, then in old newspaper archives, then at a public records office where he requested incident summaries and transportation reports, old enough to have slipped from active digital systems. What he found came in fragments, contradictory enough to be dismissed individually, suggestive enough to become horrifying in combination. There had been no official Platform 9 at Blackthorn Street in living memory. But earlier tunnel schematics from the 1920s showed a spur platform branching from the northbound line, designated for a proposed extension never fully open to public use. Construction stopped, resumed, changed hands, then vanished from standard maps altogether. Notes on later engineering surveys referred to the area only as sealed North Service Space. The 1998 incident report was more troubling. A maintenance crew had been dispatched after after-hours power irregularities near the sealed north section of Platform 3. Around 2:40 a.m., station systems experienced simultaneous clock failure, communications interference, and a brief CCTV blackout lasting 58 seconds. During that interval, one staff member radioed in a phrase later transcribed as either Platform Open or Platform 9 Open, depending on which damaged audio copy was consulted. Fire alarms activated in the tunnel, though no corresponding heat source was ever conclusively identified. 3 workers and 9 civilians were listed dead due to smoke inhalation, crush injuries, or rail trauma during confusion surrounding an unauthorized evacuation route. But that made no sense. There should not have been 9 civilians in a sealed service area after hours. One witness statement, partially redacted, described seeing a train not on schedule, standing at the old side. Another referred to passengers already seated when the tunnel was empty seconds earlier. Most of the stranger details were omitted from final summaries and replaced by procedural language. One name in the fatality list made Martin stop breathing for a moment. Hale Christopher, age 38, track electrician. A blurry personnel photo accompanied the archived memorial notice. The image quality was poor, but not poor enough to erase the resemblance. Christopher Hale was Martin's father. Martin had been 6 when his father died. He remembered a funeral full of adults speaking in softened voices. He remembered his mother saying only that there had been an accident underground and that his father had been brave. He remembered a closed coffin and the smell of lilies. He had never been told the station name. That night he called his mother for the first time in almost 3 months. She answered on the 4th ring, voice thin with sleep. "Martin, is everything all right?" He almost said yes. The old reflex. Don't upset her, don't pull at old wounds. But his nerves were flayed too raw for gentleness. Dad died at Blackthorn Street, didn't he? Silence. In the silence, he heard the faint hum of her refrigerator, the shift of fabric as she sat up in bed, the delicate collapse of a lie she had carried for decades. "Where did you hear that?" she asked. "So it's true." Another silence, worse than the first. "Why are you asking me now?" "Because I work there." Her inhale caught sharply. "What?" "I've been assigned there 6 months. Nobody told me. You never told me." "I asked them not to," she said, and he heard something near panic now. "I asked them to keep the details from you when you joined. I thought records would be sealed enough." "Why?" She spoke in bursts, as if each sentence had to be forced through resistance. "Because your father saw something that night. Because before he died, he called me from the station. He wasn't supposed to have his phone on shift, but he called me anyway, whispering, crying. I had never heard him cry. And he said there was another platform opening where no platform should be. He said there was a train taking people. He said if anyone wearing his face spoke to me after that night, I was not to answer." Martin felt the room tip slightly around him. "Mum." "He came home once after the accident," she said. The words made no sense at first. "What?" "He came home the next evening. The police had already told me he was dead. They had already told me they'd identified him. Then someone knocked at my door, and your father was standing there." Martin could not speak. "He looked almost right," she whispered. "Almost. But he smelled like damp stone, and he stood too still. He kept smiling at me in this awful patient way. He said there'd been a mistake and he'd missed the last train. He asked where you were." Every hair rose along Martin's arms. "What did you do?" "I shut the door," she said, and now she was crying quietly. "He kept knocking for nearly an hour, softly, never raised his voice, never got angry, just kept saying, 'Let me in, Grace, it's cold on the platform.'" Martin pressed a fist against his mouth. "When I finally looked through the peephole," she said, "there was no one there, just wet footprints leading down the path." After that call, the boundaries of Martin's life thinned fast. He returned to work under the pretense of being cleared, though Eleanor warned him she was watching performance closely. He agreed to everything, signed all forms, smiled when appropriate. It was easier than telling anyone the truth, that the station had gone from unsettling to hostile. The first unmistakable escalation came through the cameras. At 2:41 a.m. on his second night back, he was reviewing a relay panel in the staff room when one of the CCTV monitors flickered. Camera 3 North showed Platform 3 empty beneath the service lights. Then static rolled across the screen, image tearing sideways. For 3 frames, no more. Martin saw a different platform superimposed over the real one. Platform 9, old benches, yellow carriage light, people standing in silence. One of them was right against the camera, face filling the frame. Christopher Hale. The resemblance that had echoed faintly in the memorial photo was undeniable here. Same jawline, same deep-set eyes, same slight asymmetry in the mouth Martin saw in his own mirror every morning. But the face on the monitor looked waterlogged and dark around the edges, like an old photograph left in a flooded basement. Its lips moved. Though the monitor was muted, Martin understood the words. "Bring him down." The screen snapped back to normal. Martin jerked away so fast he overturned his chair. Jamil, working at the adjacent desk on a wiring inventory, stared up at him. "You okay, mate?" Martin looked at the monitor again. Platform 3 sat empty and harmless. "Yeah," he lied. "Thought I saw a short." Jamil frowned but returned to his clipboard. That same shift, while inspecting track access doors, Martin found something tucked into the gap beneath the north end barrier. An old paper ticket stub, browned with age and damp around the edges. The print had mostly faded, but two things remained legible. Blackthorn Street, Platform 9. On the reverse side, written in blue ink with careful block letters, was a message. "You were always going to come back." Martin did not show it to anyone. He slipped it into his pocket and spent the next hour feeling as though the station had placed a hand between his shoulder blades. The sense of being watched became constant. At first it was just in reflective surfaces. Dark train windows, polished safety signage, puddled water in the drainage gutter. He would catch the impression of someone standing behind him, only to turn and find emptiness. Then it grew bolder. Footsteps matching his pace on the other side of tiled walls, breathing in the maintenance corridors when he knew he was alone. A figure at the far end of the platform that vanished when approached, leaving only the smell of lilies and cold iron. Sleep eroded completely. He began waking at exactly 2:40 p.m. each afternoon, choking on air, convinced he had heard train doors opening in his bedroom. Once he found gray grit on his pillow and a crescent of black grease across his throat like a fingerprint. Another time he woke standing in his hallway with shoes on and his Oyster card in one hand. Naomi noticed before anyone else. They met for coffee because she needed a signature on some remaining legal paperwork. But the moment Martin sat down, she pushed the folder aside. "You look terrible," she said. It was not unkind. That made it worse. "I'm fine." "No, you're not." Her eyes narrowed as she took in the tremor in his fingers, the sleepless hollows under his eyes. "Are you drinking again?" He almost laughed. "I wish it were that simple." He told her some of it. Not all. Enough to hear how impossible it sounded in daylight among coffee cups and pastry cases. She listened, brow furrowed, the old mixture of concern and frustration returning to her face. "Martin," she said carefully, "your father died underground. You're overtired. You work nights in a place people already tell ghost stories about. Maybe your brain is linking things. And the photo? The ticket? My mother's story. She was traumatized. You're traumatized now." Naomi leaned forward. "Listen to me. Take leave. See someone. Stay above ground for a week." Martin wanted to obey, wanted the world to remain one where fear could be reasoned down to chemistry and grief. But even as she spoke, his phone, face down on the table, buzzed. One new voicemail. Duration 040. He played it while Naomi watched. At first, there was only deep tunnel rumble. Then a public address chime. Then the calm female voice of a train announcer, old-fashioned and distorted by static. Platform 9 now boarding. Underneath the message, almost too soft to hear, dozens of voices murmured in unison. Martin's name. Naomi went white. After that, she believed enough to be afraid, though not enough to understand. "Go to the police," she said. "And tell them what?" She had no answer. Martin tried practical solutions anyway. He requested historical access to sealed schematics through internal channels and was denied. He tried to persuade Kev to talk seriously rather than through jokes and warnings. One cigarette break behind the depot, he finally cornered the older man. "You know something," Martin said. "About Blackthorn, about 1998. Kev stared at the glowing tip of his cigarette. "Know enough to stay away from that end after 2:30. My dad died there." Kev's expression changed, weariness replacing deflection. "Ah, you knew?" "No, but I know the sort of men that place takes. Usually the ones with some thread tied to it already." Martin waited. Kev exhaled smoke into the damp night air. "My first supervisor used to say the old tunnels aren't empty. Not really. London covers things over and calls them gone, but underground doesn't work that way. Shut a station, the shape of it still exists. Seal a platform, people still remember it. And sometimes a place remembered too hard starts behaving like it was never closed at all." "That's superstition." "Maybe." Kev flicked ash. "Maybe not. In '98, my supervisor lost his brother there. Said the dead weren't all found where they were meant to be. Said some bodies had soot in their lungs but no burns. and some had water in them, though no water main had burst. Said one poor bastard was found sitting upright on a bench in a section no map admitted existed. Martin's throat tightened. Platform 9. Kev gave the smallest nod. What is it? The old man looked at him then, really looked, and whatever he saw made him unhappy. A place for things that miss their stop, he said. Or people. The third escalation turned private terror into physical danger. At 2:38 a.m. 3 nights later, Martin was replacing an emergency handset on Platform 3 when all the regular service lights along the north end clicked off in sequence, plunging that section into shadow. His radio died in his hand. The nearest clock stopped at 2:39, second hand twitching uselessly. Then came the voice. Martin, it emerged from the tunnel behind him in his father's exact tone. Tired, warm, unmistakable. He turned before he could stop himself. At the sealed end of the platform stood Christopher Hale, not a vision on glass, not a glitch on a screen. A man-shaped figure in old maintenance gear, lit dimly by the failing station bulbs. His face was soot-streaked. One side of his jacket was torn open, exposing a rib cage dark with old blood and black water. Yet his eyes were achingly familiar. You've got to listen this time, the figure said. Martin backed away. You're not him. Not all of him. The thing took one step forward. Its boots made no sound. But enough. The air pressure changed. The smell of lilies rolled over the platform. My trains do, Martin whispered, though he didn't know what he meant by it. Not yet, said the figure wearing his father. That's why it wants you. At the north wall, the bricks began to glow from within. Christopher, or the thing speaking through whatever remained of Christopher, looked toward the opening wall with visible dread. It opens wider every time someone answers, he said. Every time someone looks back, listens, steps closer. In '98, we thought it was smoke confusion. We followed voices. We followed people we knew. By the time we understood, the platform had already taken 9. Martin could barely breathe. What is it? The figure's expression twisted. A hunger with tracks. The wall split. Platform 9 yawned open again. Larger now, yellow-lit and waiting. The old train was already there, doors spread wide. Passengers stood in the doorway, shoulder to shoulder. Some were recognizable from Martin's photo. Others were fresh. A young office worker with one shoe missing. An elderly woman in modern raincoat, skin wrinkled with water. A teenager clutching earbuds in a bloodless hand. All staring. At the center doorway stood the other Martin. The one with the milky eye and worker's cap. He smiled. Christopher grabbed Martin's arm. The hand felt real, cold, strong, slick with something like condensation. Don't let it hear your voice, he hissed. Don't step beyond the yellow. And if it shows you someone you love. The false Martin on the train raised one finger to its lips. The station announcement chimed. Last service to Platform 9. Please stand clear of the edge. The words came through every speaker in the station, each syllable warped, layered, almost sung. Then something moved beneath the train. Not wheels, not shadow. Limbs. Too many limbs, pale and jointed wrong. Unfolding from the darkness under the carriages and gripping the rails like fingers. The train shuddered as if those things were what truly held it up. What truly drove it. Martin gagged. Christopher shoved him backward with sudden violence. Run! This time Martin did. Behind him he heard a rush like 1,000 tickets tearing at once, and under it the soft stampede of many feet leaving the train. Martin no longer thought in terms of proving anything. By the fourth appearance of Platform 9, truth was not the problem. Survival was. He spent 2 frantic days assembling what little the fragments gave him. He stole time in forgotten archives, coaxed guarded recollections from retired staff through late-night phone calls, and pieced together a history that felt less like research than excavation. Platform 9 had never been formally opened because laborers reported impossible occurrences during construction in the 1920s. Hearing trains on unfinished track, seeing commuters where only workers stood, entering a passage that returned them to the same place no matter how far they walked. A partial collapse during excavation killed several men. Officially, unstable ground and financial restructuring halted the project. Unofficially, the area was sealed after workers refused to continue. In 1998, Electrical work near the sealed section coincided with system failures and a fire alarm event that may have been either cause or symptom. Witness statements, where they survived redaction, repeated three elements: the clocks freezing at 2:40, the appearance of a non-scheduled train, and the use of familiar voices to lure victims toward the opening platform. 3 staff died trying to pull others back. One of them, Christopher Hale, reportedly forced a fire door shut while people pounded from the opposite side. Martin found that detail in a handwritten note scanned badly into an internal historical appendix. The last sentence nearly shook loose the screen from his hand. Dauber secured from service side. Audible voices continued after thermal events ceased. He also found something else. A retired signal engineer named Bernard Sykes agreed to meet in a pub near Kilburn after Martin left a message invoking Blackthorn Street in 1998. Bernard was in his 70s, with clouded eyes and a tremor in one hand, but his memory sharpened when Martin spoke the words, "Platform 9. "They patched it, but patching isn't sealing," Bernard said over untouched ale. "You can wall up a mouth. Doesn't mean the throat behind it closes." "How do you stop it?" Bernard looked miserable. "We didn't. We narrowed it. Best we managed was interrupting the sequence. If the clocks broke, if the announcement started, if the train arrived, you had maybe a minute before it could anchor properly." "Anchor?" "To us." Bernard leaned closer. "A station's a machine. Timers, signals, current, doors, routes. That thing learned to use the system, borrowed shape from it. Needed alignment, time, power, attention. The more people acknowledged it, the stronger it got. In '98, your father figured out something before the rest of us." Martin's skin went cold. "What?" Bernard swallowed. "It hates unfinished journeys, hates interruptions. He said if the route broke while the platform was open, it would lose purchase. He went down with an emergency crowbar and forced one of the side switches manual. Killed the traction feed to the spur that shouldn't have existed. Then why did he die?" Bernard's face folded into grief, older than Martin. "Because the train was already boarding." Armed with half-belief and desperation, Martin formed a plan that sounded insane even to him. At 2:40, when Platform 9 opened, he would go to the north end with emergency access tools, trip the old manual isolation points Bernard had marked on a schematic from memory, and sever whatever current or signaling path the thing used to manifest. Not destroy it, perhaps, but break the route long enough to force it closed. He did not tell Eleanor. He tried telling Naomi, who reacted exactly as any sane person would. "You are not going down there alone. There isn't time to convince anyone else." "Then don't quit. Walk away." "It followed my father home," Martin said. "It's already following me." That silenced her. Fear moved visibly across her face. "Then let me come with you," she said. "No, Martin, no." He took her shoulders gently. "It uses familiar faces, familiar voices. If you're there and it uses you, I won't be able to think." Her eyes filled, but she understood. At 2:18 a.m. the next night, rain hammered London hard enough to rattle street grates. Water streamed down station steps and hissed in drains. Blackthorn Street felt more sealed off than ever, cocooned beneath the city's soaked weight. Martin signed in for shift, kept his expression flat, and carried his tool bag to Platform 3 with the calm of a man walking into a room where he already knew the murderer was waiting. Inside the bag, flashlight, insulated gloves, a heavy maintenance crowbar, bolt cutters, backup battery lamp, old schematic copy, and his father's memorial photo printed from the archive. Not for courage, for identification. The station grew quieter with awful precision. By 2:30, Jamil was upstairs troubleshooting a false leak alarm. Eleanor had left 15 minutes earlier. Kev was on line call-out across the river. Martin was alone. He stood at the north end barrier and listened. Drip of water, hum of dormant current in the walls. Deep below all of it, a rhythm not native to the station. Metal over distance, steady and patient, like a train still many tunnels away. He checked the nearest platform clock. 2:37. At 2:38, the service lights dipped. At 2:39, his radio burst into layered voices. Some he recognized. Jamil, Naomi, his mother, Kev, all calling his name from overlapping distances. He switched the radio off and clipped it away. The station clock stopped. 2:40. Every tile along the bricked wall reflected yellow light. The mortar split. Platform 9 opened wider than ever before. The hidden platform extended far beyond what the station's architecture could physically contain, receding into a perspective that made Martin's eyes ache. The old signs were clearer now. The benches, the soot, posters from decades that did not belong together. The track bed beneath the phantom rails looked wet and fleshy in patches, as though the darkness there had texture. The train arrived soundlessly, yet the air shook around it. Its doors opened. Passengers poured out this time, not rushing, not attacking, simply walking in orderly lines onto the old platform and turning toward Martin with blank commuter patience. Their numbers kept growing. Men in uniforms from different eras, women in wet coats, children holding hands with no adults attached, burned, drowned, crushed, black-eyed, ash-skinned. Some looked newly dead. Others looked preserved by something worse than death. At the center of the nearest carriage doorway stood Martin's double. Beside him stood Christopher Hale, not the warning shade from before. This version wore Martin's father's face more neatly, more convincingly, the injuries muted beneath a gentle, exhausted smile. "Son," it called. Martin's vision tightened. He said nothing. The false Christopher stepped onto the platform edge. "You came back for me." The voice was perfect. Something in Martin's chest broke open anyway. Grief did not care about logic. Grief lunged toward resemblance. He felt his body lean before he caught himself. Then he remembered what his mother had said. If anyone wearing his face spoke to me after that night, I was not to answer. He clenched the crowbar so hard his knuckles hurt, and moved instead toward the side access hatch Bernard had marked, built low into the wall near the old drainage channel. The hatch should have been locked with a triangular utility key. Tonight it hung ajar, as if expecting him. The false Martin on the train smiled wider. Martin dropped to one knee, dragged the hatch open, and shone his flashlight into a cramped service void packed with old cable housings and obsolete switching gear. Rust filmed everything. A manual isolation lever sat deeper inside exactly where Bernard had said it would be. Painted red once and now nearly brown. Behind him, the station announcement chimed. "This service is for terminated passengers only." The dead began to murmur. Thousands of tiny sounds together. Ticket stubs crackling, shoes scraping platform grit, damp throats swallowing tunnel air. Martin shoved his arm into the hatch, shoulder grinding painfully against the frame, and grabbed the lever. It did not move. He braced one boot against the wall and pulled harder. Still nothing. Footsteps approached behind him, unhurried. A hand rested lightly on his shoulder. Warm, familiar. Naomi's voice whispered close to his ear, trembling beautifully. "Martin, stop. Please stop. I'm scared." He froze. Every instinct screamed at him not to turn, which was the only reason he knew it was not her. The voice quivered again. "I came anyway. I didn't want you alone." He squeezed his eyes shut and yanked the lever with everything in him. Metal screamed. The lever shifted an inch. Behind him, the hand on his shoulder became claws. He ripped himself sideways as something slashed the back of his coat. He turned then, unable not to, flashlight swinging up. Naomi stood inches away, or the station's interpretation of her did. Her face was almost right, except for the eyes, which reflected carriage light like polished black stone. Her mouth opened too far, smile tearing into the cheeks. Damp hair clung to her throat. She wore the dress from their anniversary dinner 3 years earlier, the last really happy night he could remember. "Don't make me watch you leave again," she said. Then her body convulsed and split open down the center with a sound like wet fabric tearing. From inside unfolded a nest of pale jointed limbs, human hands blooming where elbows should have been, fingers scrabbling across the concrete as the outer skin of Naomi's shape sagged around them like emptied clothing. Martin staggered back, sick with horror, and swung the crowbar. It connected with a crack. The thing collapsed sideways, limbs whipping, and released a shrill whistle that made the platform lights flare. All around Platform 9, passengers lifted their heads. The false Martin stepped down from the carriage at last. He walked like Martin too. Same slight stiffness in the left knee from an old football injury. Same tired set of shoulders. Seeing his own mannerisms carried by something so wrong almost broke Martin's mind more than any corpse had. "You were easier as a child," the double said conversationally. The words stopped him cold. "What?" "It almost had you then," it said, "after your father closed the door. You cried so sweetly at the funeral. So easy to follow home, but your mother never answered." It tilted its head. She was clever. Rage cut through fear with astonishing purity. Martin charged. The double didn't flinch. It met him halfway, fast as a striking animal. Their bodies collided. Martin smelled tunnel water and electrical burn. The thing's skin felt firm over something shifting underneath, like hands pressing outward from within a rubber mask. It drove him backward toward the yellow line with impossible strength. Beyond it, the old platform waited. Passengers had fallen silent now, watching. The double leaned close, milky eye inches from Martin's own. "You know why it wants you? Because roots repeat. Blood repeats. Doors remember the shape of those who close them." Martin jammed the crowbar up under its chin. The flesh parted too easily. Not bleeding, but opening into darkness full of whispering mouths. He recoiled and nearly lost footing at the edge. Then another figure hit the double from the side. Christopher. The damaged, soot-blackened version, not the polished lure. The two father-faced things crashed together, striking the tiles in a flurry of limbs and snarling voices that shifted through Martin's memories like radio stations. For an instant, he saw neither shape as human at all, only collections of stolen features stretched over a deeper machinery of fingers, teeth, and rail-bent bone. "Now!" Christopher shouted, and this time the voice sounded truly his. Martin plunged his arm back into the access hatch and hauled on the lever. It moved halfway, then jammed. The train emitted a low, hornless bellow. Under the carriages, pale limbs thickened and multiplied, anchoring into the rails. The platform floor trembled. Cracks opened in the concrete of real Platform 3, spidering toward Martin's boots. Not enough, he thought wildly. I need to break the root. He grabbed the bolt cutters, shoved deeper into the hatch, and found the bundled cable trunk Bernard had described. A dead feeder line that should have been disconnected since 1998, yet now vibrated with current. Insulation crackled under his gloves. Sparks bit the metal jaws as he clamped down. Behind him, Christopher cried out. Martin looked. The false Martin had driven both hands into Christopher's chest, pinning him against the edge of Platform 9. The thing wore Martin's face in a mask of tender pity. He couldn't let go then, it said. He won't let go now. Christopher looked at Martin, not pleading, not afraid, just urgent. Do it. Martin cut the cable. White sparks exploded through the hatch, blinding him. The station shrieked. Every clock in view spun backward. The yellow light flooding from Platform 9 faltered and deepened to a diseased orange. The train lurched. Passengers swayed as one, their calm commuter postures breaking into panic. Mouths opened. At last, sound came. Screams, hundreds of them, layered from decades of trapped throats. The old platform rippled, revealing gaps beneath the tiles, black water under the benches, writhing limbs in the track bed. The false Martin's expression snapped from composure to naked hatred. It threw Christopher aside and lunged for Martin with a speed that seemed to skip frames of reality. Martin barely had time to wrench the crowbar free before the thing hit him. They slammed onto the concrete. His head cracked hard. Vision burst with stars. Hands closed around his throat. Not two hands, many. From inside the borrowed body, fingers pushed through its skin and joined the grip, pressing into Martin's neck, jaw, cheeks. He thrashed, choking, staring up into his own face as it began to split and unravel. You don't close routes, it rasped in a chorus. You join them. Beyond the thing, Platform 9 was collapsing inward. Passengers were being dragged back toward the train not by gravity, but by those pale rail limbs lashing out and hooking them around ankles, waists, throats. Some fought, some went willingly. The old carriage windows darkened one by one like eyes shutting. Christopher crawled toward them across the shaking edge. one arm half torn away, face dissolving between familiarity and ruin. "Martin," he said, "the door, not the hatch." "The train doors." The phrase hit with terrible clarity. Unfinished journeys, boarding, route. If the doors shut with the platform unstable, maybe the thing would trap itself in transition. Martin drove both thumbs into the milky eye of his double. The thing recoiled with a wet, snapping scream. Martin rolled free, snatched up the crowbar, and sprinted straight for the open carriage. Everything in him rebelled. Every nerve knew entering that threshold was the final mistake every victim made. But if he did nothing, it would keep opening, keep learning his face, keep finding the route home. He leaped the yellow line. The instant his foot touched platform 9, cold shot up his body like immersion in ice water. Voices flooded his skull, hundreds of them, whispers in old dialects and modern slang. Apologies, pleas, announcements, prayers. He nearly fell. The carriage doorway loomed. Inside, the air smelled of mildew, soot, lilies, and the sweet rot of long-sealed rooms. The seats were full of passengers now turned toward him in terror, not predation. Their faces seemed briefly human again. Martin jammed the crowbar into the door track. The train shuddered violently. Behind him, the false Martin tackled him from the side. They crashed against the carriage frame. One of the doors slid inward an inch, met the crowbar, and stopped. "Stay!" the thing hissed into his ear, voice now a swarm. "Be the last stop." Martin saw Christopher at the platform edge, bracing his ruined body against the exterior of the door, helping hold it half shut. The sight tore through him. His father dead for nearly 3 decades, still pushing against a door. With a howl that was part effort, part grief, Martin grabbed the emergency release chain hanging inside the carriage and ripped downward. The mechanism detonated with a cannon crack. Both doors slammed. The crowbar snapped. The false Martin was caught between door and frame from the shoulders up. For a fraction of a second, its face, his face, pressed flat against the glass inches from Martin's own. Beneath the skin, dozens of eyes opened. Then the train dropped. Not moved, dropped, as if the tracks had vanished beneath it. The entire carriage plunged into blackness, dragging platform 9 with it. The old platform folded, bricks sucking inward, lights imploding into pinpoints. Wind roared. Voices became one enormous metallic scream. Christopher let go. Martin was thrown backward across the threshold as the opening collapsed. He hit the real concrete of platform 3 hard enough to lose breath and awareness for a spinning moment. When he looked up, the bricked wall was whole again. No yellow light, no train, only cracked tiles, drifting dust, and the ordinary hum of station electricity reasserting itself like a body remembering a heartbeat. The nearest clock twitched. 2:41. They found him 20 minutes later sitting against the tiled wall, covered in soot, neck bruised, one hand burned where the cable had arced through his glove. Jamil found him first and shouted for help. Eleanor arrived seconds later with 2 transit responders and a face gone pale beneath managerial control. "What happened?" Martin looked at the sealed wall. "Electrical fault," he said automatically, then laughed once, dry and broken. "No, not that." Yet when the official investigation came, electrical fault was what the paperwork preferred. A blown legacy feeder line, a localized power surge, structural stress at the old north wall due to hidden water damage. Martin's injuries were consistent with a fall. The cracked tiles were photographed, documented, and scheduled for repair. The scorched access hatch and severed cable gave everyone something practical to hold. No one mentioned the impossible. Even Jamil, who swore he had heard screaming down the stairs before finding Martin, accepted the version that hurt less to believe. Martin was put on indefinite medical leave. For 3 straight days, he slept in shattered segments and woke with the sensation of carriage doors closing inches from his face. Naomi stayed with him despite the divorce papers still half-finished on his kitchen counter. She made tea, kept lights on, and did not ask for a coherent explanation every time he jolted awake and checked the flat for wet footprints. His mother came once. She stood in the doorway a long time before hugging him with both arms, as if confirming solidity. "You look like him," she said into his shoulder. And for once the statement held no pain, only mourning, only relief. Martin told her about Christopher, about the warning, the fight, the door. She listened without disbelief. When he was done, she nodded slowly and said, "That sounds like your father. He was always stubborn at the wrong moment." A week later, Bernard Sykes phoned after hearing whispers through old staff networks. "You broke the manifestation," the retired engineer said, "at least for now. There have been no time anomalies logged since, no camera outages." "For now," Martin repeated. Bernard was quiet. Places like that don't die. They sleep, they thin, they wait. But sometimes that's the best you get. Martin knew he was right. The nightmares eased slightly. The smell of lilies stopped appearing in the flat. The gray grit on his pillow ceased. For the first time in months, 2:40 p.m. passed one afternoon without waking him in panic. He began to believe cautiously that he had done enough. Then Blackthorn Street appeared in the news. Not for hauntings or sealed platforms, of course, but for renovation, upgrades, modernization, temporary closure of Platform 3's north end for structural remediation and historical survey prior to expansion work. Expansion. The word sat badly in his stomach. A few days later, he received an internal envelope forwarded from the station. No return address. Inside was a single item, an old paper ticket stub, damp at the edges, browned with age. Blackthorn Street, Platform 9. On the back, written in the same neat blue block letters, "Delayed is not canceled." Naomi wanted him to burn it. His mother wanted him to move. Martin considered both. Instead, he locked the ticket in a metal box and shoved it to the back of a cupboard, where it waited like a tooth under the floorboards. Life resumed outwardly. Paperwork, medical appointments, awkward calls from HR, days with too much light after years underground. He told himself the silence meant victory. But silence, he had learned, was what platforms sounded like just before the train arrived. 3 months passed before Martin went back below ground, not for work, not for courage. Only because avoidance had started to feel like another kind of route, one defined entirely by what hunted him. He chose a different station at first, broad and crowded and bright. He rode escalators with tourists and office workers and listened to the familiar layered noise of ordinary transit. Card taps, shoe squeaks, distant announcements, impatience, life. Nothing happened. So he tried another station a week later, then another. The city's underground ceased feeling like one continuous organism and became, almost, separate places again. His pulse no longer spiked at every tunnel gust. He stopped scanning reflections quite so often. Naomi noticed. They had dinner once without speaking about Blackthorn at all. It felt fragile but real. By late autumn, Martin allowed himself a private thought he had not dared name. Maybe the route had been broken. Then came the email. It arrived at 1:13 a.m. from an internal transport address no longer in active use. Subject line: Staff redeployment notice. Blank body. One attachment: a CCTV still. Blackthorn Street, Platform 3, time-stamped 2:40. The image showed the north end under construction lighting. Temporary barriers, plastic sheeting. 2 workers in high-vis standing near exposed brick where crews had begun opening the old wall for survey. Between them, revealed by the demolition cut, was the curved edge of an older tiled sign. PLATF. Martin stared until nausea rolled through him. The next morning, he called every contact he had. Eleanor was on leave. Jamil had transferred. Bernard's number rang unanswered. Kev finally picked up and listened in grim silence. "They started opening the wall?" Kev said. "For survey work." A pause. Then, "Don't go there." Martin was already pulling on his coat. Blackthorn Street was closed to public service when he arrived that evening. But contractors still moved in and out through side access, and Martin's old staff credentials got him farther than they should have. Renovation lights flooded the concourse in cold white strips. Plastic dust sheets flapped in artificial drafts. The station smelled of fresh-cut plaster over older odors trying to return. He descended to Platform 3 with his throat tightening at each step. The north end was boxed off with temporary fencing. Behind it, sections of the bricked wall had been removed. bare historical tile emerged from under modern patchwork, cream-glazed ceramic, soot-stained, undeniably older than the surrounding station. An enamel sine curve showed a cracked numeral beneath dust. 2 contractors were packing up tools nearby while a site supervisor checked a clipboard. Martin approached, trying to keep urgency from sounding like panic. "You need to seal this back up," he said. The supervisor blinked. "Excuse me?" "This section, tonight, before 2:40. The man gave him the look reserved for disturbed former employees and half-drunk relatives. "We're done for the day, mate. Engineering survey continues next week." "Has anyone heard voices, seen clock faults, camera interference?" One contractor chuckled nervously. The supervisor's expression hardened. "You need to leave." Martin stepped toward the fencing anyway. Then he saw it. Scratched low into the newly exposed tile, hidden behind dust until the angle changed, were words cut so deeply the glaze had broken around them. "Mind the gap, Martin." He stumbled backward. "Sir?" said the supervisor. Martin turned and ran for the nearest office where old system panels still connected to station feeds. He needed to kill power, shut clocks, trigger emergency closure, anything that would interrupt sequence before 2:40. But renovation crews had isolated sections unpredictably, and half the controls were now off-site or digital. The station no longer matched the system Bernard had understood. New routes had been laid over old ones. The machine had changed. And maybe that meant the thing had changed too. At 2:34 a.m., rain began above ground. He heard it only as a soft change in the station's breathing, water finding drains, pressure shifting. At 2:37, a contractor shouted somewhere down the corridor. At 2:38, every active monitor in the office flickered to the same feed. Platform 3 North End. The workers were gone. In their place stood commuters, dozens of them, then hundreds, crowding the newly reopened stretch beneath dead white construction lights. Some wore modern coats and backpacks. Some wore fashions decades old. Some were wet. Some were burned. All faced the camera. At the center of the crowd stood Martin, not the ruined, milky-eyed version from before. A normal-looking Martin, bruised but alive, wearing the clothes he had on right now. The figure on the screen looked up and smiled directly into the lens. Then all monitors died. Martin bolted back down the corridor. The station announcement chime sounded once, bright and cheerful, using the renovated public address system with perfect modern clarity. Due to essential engineering works, passengers are advised that an additional platform is now in service. His blood turned to ice. When he reached Platform 3, the temporary fencing was lying flat. The exposed wall no longer contained a partial opening. It was fully open. Platform 9 had changed. It still retained the bones of the old hidden station. Soot, antique signs, impossible depth. But now modern elements had woven into it. LED information boards flickered beside blackened enamel plaques. Fresh yellow safety markings ran along tiles stained by age. New wayfinding arrows pointed into darkness where no passage should go. It had adapted to the station's renovations the way mold adapts to new walls. And the train waiting there was no longer old, or not entirely. The front carriage had the shape of a modern tube train. The rest decayed backward through time. Newer cars melting into older rolling stock, then varnished antique compartments beyond, all joined into one impossible serpent of transit history. Lights burned white in some windows, amber in others. Reflections slid across glass from places deeper than the platform. Doors stood open. Passengers boarded in calm lines from both sides now, from the hidden platform and from real Platform 3, not dragged, choosing. Martin saw one of the contractors step aboard with the slow vacancy of a sleepwalker. A woman in a raincoat followed. Behind them moved figures from older decades, all blending into a single commuter flow. At the nearest door stood Christopher Hale. This time, he looked solid, whole, tired but uninjured. The version of his father from childhood memories, carrying lunch in a thermos, smelling faintly of machine oil and aftershave. "Martin," he called gently. "It's all right. They've made it easier." The words almost destroyed him, because for one impossible moment, Martin believed him. Believed the fight had ended. Believed the dead might wait somewhere with schedules in order and a place to sit. believed grief could be solved by boarding. He took one step forward. Then another voice spoke behind him, his own. "Don't." Martin turned. Standing on real platform 3, just beyond the fallen fence, was another Martin. Burned hand, bruised throat, hollow-eyed from sleepless months. Exactly as he had looked after surviving the first collapse of Platform 9. The double shook his head once, and Martin understood with sickening clarity. The photo, the reflection, the CCTV still, the face on the train. The station had never only been stealing shapes from the dead. It stole from those who escaped. It made futures out of them. Versions worn thin by repeated routes until they no longer knew whether they were warning the next victim or luring him onward. His surviving self, this self, might not be the original ending of the journey. He might already be a return, a fragment, a delay mistaken for escape. The burned hand Martin stepped closer, voice raw. "Every time it opens, it tries a different route. Sometimes it sends the father, sometimes the wife, sometimes you. I've stopped it before, I think." The words hit like falling masonry. "I think," Martin whispered. The other man's expression crumpled. "I don't know which one of us left." The announcement chimed again. This platform is now permanent. The train emitted a low pulse that Martin felt in his teeth. Passengers continued boarding. Christopher, whether father, lure, or both, held out one hand from the doorway. "Come on, son, last one." Burned hand, Martin grabbed Martin's sleeve. "If you board, it learns you completely. If I don't?" The other him looked toward the open platform, then toward the dark tunnel beyond real track 3 where construction lights failed to reach. It may already have. Something moved in that real tunnel. At first, Martin thought it was water reflecting light. Then he saw shape. A line of people standing shoulder to shoulder in the darkness beyond the tracks, all with his face. Dozens of them. Different ages. Some in childhood clothing from old photos. Some elderly, some in underground uniforms, contractor vests, hospital gowns, business suits. All Martin, all watching. Not copies waiting to be made. Routes already run. The realization stripped language from him. Platform 9 had never merely wanted a victim. It wanted continuity. A line that never ended. A commuter service of selves. The burned hand Martin released his sleeve slowly. "You can still shut the doors," he said. "Maybe." "Maybe?" A small, broken laugh. "That's the best any of us ever gets." The train lights brightened. The doorway's edges seemed to lengthen, becoming less like metal and more like an opening cut into the station's idea of reality. Inside, Martin saw carriages stretching on forever, each window reflecting a different version of the same platform. He looked from the hand his father offered to the hand his future self had withdrawn. One promised reunion, one promised uncertainty. Both smelled faintly of lilies. The overhead clocks clicked to 2:40. All across Platform 3, every face turned toward him. The contractors, the commuters, the dead, the Martins in the tunnel, the father in the doorway, the burned hand man at his side, waiting for his route selection. The story the official reports would eventually tell, if any story were told at all, would be simple. Structural failure, power anomaly. Contractor fatalities pending identification. Temporary closure expanded indefinitely. But there is one detail no report will explain. At 2:41 a.m., Blackthorn Street's active CCTV system captured a final image before the feeds were lost. In it, Platform 3 appears empty except for a single maintenance crowbar lying beside the yellow line. Yet reflected in the dark glass of the train stopped where no train should be. One passenger can be seen seated by the window. A man in an underground worker's coat. His face is Martin Hale's. His hand is raised against the glass. And behind him, stretching carriage after carriage into a darkness no camera can measure. Every seat is occupied.